thought I'd record a quick update and be a good exercise for me just to acknowledge just the activities of today and what I did. It's something I'm trying to work on, to connect with mainly positive things that I've done throughout the day. Something I feel very disconnected with, so hopefully the oven in the background is not too loud, but now that I've said it, it might be something that's noticed instead of just something that the brain just gets used to. Okay. Just realised I've got my windows open as well, so I'll try not to worry about being overheard. So I didn't get a good sleep last night. I think it was quite humid. So I woke up quite early in the morning feeling really groggy and tired, and I could feel that it's affecting my mind a lot, so I just tried to go back to sleep. And one thing I've done in the past couple of days, it's been kind of consecutive nights of difficult sleep or waking up early, is I kind of change my alarm time to 1 hour forward, so it just gives me an extra hour of trying to sleep, and that I think that's been helping. Often it takes me a long time to try and get back to sleep, so when I do, I found in the past that there's only been like 20 minutes left until my original alarm time goes off, so at least this gives me a bit more needed rest, especially in terms of how I feel mentally. So yeah, I kind of heard the alarm clock later than usual, and it was way too soon. I was just feeling groggy, but I could also sense that the extra hour really helped. So I kind of had a few things I wanted to do today, such as like clean and get to a cafe to write, and at first it felt quite heavy as I woke up, that I've got to do this and do that, and I just tried to take care of the first thing, which was just to get up and shower. I thought that would just be a good start point and a good momentum. And I had a brief moment of thinking whether I should clean first. Sometimes it can be helpful to do the task that can be the most difficult at the start, but I felt like I was still a little tired, and so I thought showering would be good to do, just to get myself dialed into the day almost. Because I was afraid that I'll do the cleaning and just relax and then it would just be hard to shower, and then that would be a knock-on effect of maybe potentially not showering or not being able to get outside. So even there was a little so I showered, and then I managed to hoover and clean, which has always been a real challenge for me. I actually put on some old school dance music. I don't know if anyone remembers, but I put on Robert Miles' Children. I remember that being on like MTV in the old days, in the charts. It was like in the charts for so long, so every kind of show where they would do the top 10 or top 20, it always, and it was nice. I just used that for some positive energy, so I kind of put that on my headphones, enjoying the nostalgic music, and just kind of just powered through with the cleaning. I think what helped is that my plan to go out to a cafe, so I was kind of on in that sort of momentum, that I'm doing this and I'm doing that, so it felt kind of contained, a bit of a rough schedule of the day. It allowed me to kind of push through and do that, and then afterwards I was a bit sweaty, which that's a downside of cleaning before showering. So I built up a little bit. I was a little bit hot and could feel so it felt a tiny bit uncomfortable with that, but it was okay, because it was really humid outside anyway. So by the time I walked to the cafe, and on my phone I've got like a list of libraries and cafes that are good for me to go to, that seem like the atmosphere is okay, and I find these lists helpful just because it's one less thing for me to kind of have to think about. If I was to just think now, okay, what cafes do I want to go to, sometimes even that can just use up like mental energy, where I could save it by having a list, and it just allows me to not the mental effort of trying to search the mind or memory of something. So I've kind of relied on that, and I thought I needed to get some groceries as well. I'm going to try and get back into a little bit of cooking for myself, which will be healthy for me to do, healthier meals than than always having something like frozen or food that's not so healthy. So I kind of arranged the cafe I wanted to go to that's close to a supermarket, so certain things clicked in today, so I had that plan, and the walk was a bit further than I'm used to. It's a bit further than what I've walked in the past week or so it seemed a bit daunting, as my rucksack was really heavy, and my laptop and water and lots of bits and bobs. I often pack it with so much stuff, like a fleece, even though it's really humid outside. It was just a fear of being cold inside the cafe or being uncomfortable, so kind of overpacked almost. I took a little rain jacket with me as well, even though it was unlikely to rain. It was cloudy, but again, I'd much prefer to have it with me. And I managed to do some writing there. I acknowledged that I was working at a slow pace, and slowly coming to terms with that, but I felt the little bit I did do, I was kind of satisfied with the mental focus and the attention I was able to give, the small amount that I was able to edit, that kind of it felt nice to improve the sentences and rearrange things a little bit, and so that was nice. And I managed to get some groceries afterwards, and I think the supermarket I'll go to again, because it's the walk there with the cafe. It's not too bad. It's not too busy to walk to go in that way. So I find some of the other supermarkets close to me, there's like the walk's really unpleasant. There's like so much traffic and the pollution, which I've mentioned before, kind of smelling petrol and being sensitive to that. So one thing I've noticed in the last maybe week is how caffeine has really helped me. It's really boosted my mental focus, and it's a bit scary because I could almost feel the gap between when I haven't had coffee and then when I do, it's like a real wide sort of gap. it can be, where I feel groggy or tired or just not mentally weak almost, and I feel like the caffeine really helps, and I tend to only have 1 cup a day, so I think that's an okay amount, and I think I'm just sensitive to caffeine as well, so I'm kind of trying to use that as a positive tool, where I am, maybe it's not good to rely on it, but maybe it's better to view it as I'm taking advantage of making use of having coffee, and there's definitely a fine line between the coffee helping and it being too much, where I start feeling jittery and anxious, and so it's a real fine line that I try and be wary of, and I felt that today a little bit because I hadn't eaten all day. I've been doing a bit of intermittent fasting. I don't know a huge amount about it. I think I've listened to some podcasts a while ago, and I used to do it before. And recently I've just felt that that I've needed to. I just felt really uncomfortable physically and with my body, so I felt it would be a healthy thing to do, to just and talking about fine lines, I've got kind of, I don't know if it's accurate to say an obsessive nature. I don't know if it's linked to sort of OCD stuff, but yeah, sometimes I can obsess over things and want to overachieve, and so I'm wary that, like tonight, I was in a fast again, not have an evening meal, and then it's sometimes hard to know if I'm doing something too much or am I just pushing myself. So yeah, that line can get a bit blurry sometimes, where it feels like it's never enough, any progress and achievement, and this may dial into acknowledging positive things that I've done today, and it's just hard for me to do that, like because I fasted yesterday. I did like an intermittent fast yesterday where I just had an evening meal yesterday, and not really a heavy meal. I had like a salad, I had like a salad sandwich, and then today I had that one meal like mid-afternoon, at 2 or 3 o'clock, and it's like just gone 8 o'clock tonight, and I'm going to have something small now, just while you hear the oven going. The oven's going off. Okay, I'm going to take this with me. And let me turn this off. So again, it's another thing I've been trying to use to try and be healthy with the fasting, just being aware that whatever kind of, how I feel about my body and physically feel, and it will help just to lose some just to lose some weight around that, and part of it is that I think I had a time I've been eating a lot of soy burgers, and I think I'm just acknowledging the accumulation of those, and how maybe I think they're highly processed, so I'm kind of beginning to try and understand that, and understand more importantly that it feels quite bloating and heavy on my body, I think. So I'm actually having like some bean burgers tonight with some salad. Got some rolls that I need to finish off, so I'm glad I kind of went to the supermarket today where I picked some up, and I thought maybe that'll be a bit healthier perhaps, and maybe if I do have anything soy burgers, it could be less often, because I think I was having them just quite, in my mind I thought, oh, it's quite a healthy thing, it's really high protein and it seems really low fat. But I think also with food, just how it's made impacts the body, I think. And actually, I don't read the news, but on some of the sports website, it gives you some of the news articles. I think one of them was about, ironically or coincidentally, about highly processed foods and how it's destroying the environment and the body, which was a scary title. I didn't read the article, but it just kind of chimed or mirrored with what I was feeling with my body by having lots of what I think is highly processed food. So I want to see how my body reacts with having less of those kind of soy burgers, or the sort of plant-based burgers, where like a bean burger feels like it's less so, it's a bit more healthier in regards to having something quick. So I'm glad I decided to eat tonight, because I did a lot of walking today as well. So again, it's just trying to find that fine line of not overdoing something. And I think there's the fear of forgetting my progress, and it just goes out the window, and there's the pain of that. So I get even more obsessive. So this happens with everything, even these vlogs sometimes, or my podcast as well. I think it can have that effect. So even though I feel disconnected with what I've done today, it probably feels easier to relate to if it was someone I cared about who had my challenges, and who I was speaking to on the phone, and they mentioned all the stuff they did today. I could sense the achievement there, but only through someone else's eyes, or someone else doing it, not me. So that's something I'd like to address a little bit more, because I sense maybe it's not a healthy, there's some sort of emotional disconnection there with me, and maybe part of that is whatever trauma and pain I've gone through. It's kind of almost, it's preventing that from happening. So maybe it's related to something like that, where if I kind of heal or take care of one thing, it will also benefit in other areas. I think that's the case with me. And just a quick note with this channel, I think what I do on my podcast is that I read from spiritual books, and I've got a bunch of books that I've got on my Kindle that I'd like to read, and for some reason I just wasn't aware that I can't just read them word for word and record and put them in a public space, because that's copyright. And I think I thought it was okay because I'd be talking and analysing about what was being said, but I think there's a line with that where if you were to read like a page or so here and there, I think that would be acceptable, where you're commenting and analysing, talking about that. But to read chapter to chapter, page to page, it's, even though it's spread out, I think that's still maybe copyright, I think. And maybe also it's just an ethics as well. Maybe it's not, because I'm technically, even though it's spread out, it's not like a complete book reading. There's commentary in there as well, but maybe just thinking in my head if that's right, and I don't think it is. So I've got to have to maybe think through how I'm going to read, or sort of include maybe excerpts of that content. And I was thinking of doing the same here as well, maybe not being able to read everything as a recording from a book, but perhaps I can read back or go through what I've recently read, and then highlight and talk about it here. Maybe that could be something I do, so it kind of motivates me to read these books, or I can share some of it on here, or reaffirm it for myself on here. And I'm not sure how that's going to look like. If I will maybe it feels too heavy duty to do it as a separate episode, because it's not going to be a huge amount that I'm going to read from, where I think it's fair in regards to copyright. So maybe I can kind of just sprinkle that in on just whenever I feel like it, maybe, and just keep it flexible, perhaps. It can just be part of the episode where I go through some of the pages that I've read from a book or something like that. So maybe I'll have to think and process how that will be, and maybe just do a trial run to see how it feels, just to dip into a book and share something that I've read. And maybe it's one of those things I have to do it, and then I'll understand if it feels right to do, if it's if it feels like can't get the thought out. I guess if it feels helpful to do, and it doesn't feel too negative in the sense where it's stressful to do that, because this is just purely a therapeutic space, and I kind of want to just keep it very loose and therapeutic in that way. There's no pressure or anything. And just before I end this, this feels like a really brave thing, but I uploaded, or I created a podcast for these vlogs as well. So they're available. They'll be available in audio version on different podcast platforms. So I thought, maybe just, it feels really terrifying, because I feel like, I don't feel like this is kind of good content or quality content. It's just an avenue for me to explore and share. So, but I thought I'd make it available for more people, so if anyone does get any use out of this, it's just a huge bonus. And in some ways, it's not for me to worry about if people like this or don't like this. It's I can leave that as kind of none of my concern in some ways. It's just making it more available and being mentally okay with putting myself out there more, to be more accessible in that way in different podcasts. But it felt quite anxious to do it, and I still feel anxious about it, but maybe that's a positive thing to acknowledge as well, just to it makes it like a bit more of a achievement as well, where I'm doing more things in some ways. So I'm distributing this there as well, and something to acknowledge. A quick plan for tomorrow: I need to go to the Apple shop, because my charging port for this phone, record this on my iPhone, it doesn't seem like it keeps disconnecting from when I tether. So if I got my USB lightning cable plugged into the phone and I'm tethering it to my laptop, if I lift up my phone, then the internet just disconnects. It's like a subtle movement in the lead where it's plugged into the phone, then it just disconnects. So I'm wondering if I've just been too heavy-handed, and because I use my phone as almost as my broadband for my laptop, so I'm always like plugging the phone into the charging cable, and especially now when it disconnects, I have to take it out and replug it in again. So it's a lot of. So I don't know if I've just, if it's something I've done, or if it's just feels it's hard to explain as well. Imagine going to, if they call it the Genius counter in the Apple Store, and try and explain. But I tried to brush out the lint, and I think it's improved it very slightly, but it's still a bit of a frustration. And the last thing I want to do is walk into town where it's really busy, and go to somewhere like an Apple Store, which is usually really busy. And also I'm just assuming it's going to be really expensive if I was to get it replaced, and it's usually not worth the phone in terms of the repairs, so there may not be much I can do. But yeah, I had that plan tomorrow, but maybe I'll process tonight if that's something I want to do for tomorrow. And I definitely want to continue writing tomorrow as well and keep that up. Hopefully I can upload this at some point. I don't know if I'll be able to do it tonight or tomorrow. I'm going to try the crazy thing of airdropping, which is so new to me. I still don't fully understand, but airdropping, I think it's Bluetooth, but airdropping this to my Mac and then uploading this episode on my Mac, which I feel like it's better, because on the YouTube app, when I upload, it's so strange. It feels like sometimes it'll upload if I lock the phone and it will just continue uploading, and other times it just stops a lot of the time. So it seems really fiddly. So it feels like if I want to upload it, I have to, almost keep the phone on and on that screen for it to, it's guaranteed to upload. When often if I'm walking, it'd be much more convenient. I can just lock my phone, put it in my pocket, and just for the upload continue. So yeah, I'm not sure. I don't have the energy to really dig into that too much. I've tried leaving the app open on my phone and locking the screen, and I've tried lots of different things. Anyways, I'm probably I'm going to stop talking now. I think that's good. Maybe I'll do a short check-in tomorrow, perhaps. Do one of those shorts, I think they're called. I feel like an old person, way past technology already. But maybe I'll try doing that just to check in a day, maybe keep myself accountable for certain things. So